what I want to talk about are these organs here, the 5 Zhang organs and 6 Fu organs. Now, these ones here, liver, heart, spleen, lung, kidneys, are the solid organs, and they generate and store essences. Essences like imagine you ripped out someone's kidney and you just kind of squished it as hard as you can. You pressed it, juice would come out. It's kind of essence, it's kind of what essence is. Of course, you have spiritual essence, which is like the emanation. It's like when you heat something up and it steams, it's like the spiritual emanation, and also the kind of juices of it. The therapy for it specifically is tonifying, which basically just means like remineralizing, renutrientizing. You can take herbs to do it, or you can just focus on the organ. That's one way to do it. And here are the 6 hollow organs, which is gallbladder relating to the liver, stomach relating to the spleen, large intestines relating to the lungs, small intestines relating to the heart, and bladder relating to kidneys, and triple energizer or triple warmer relating to the fire element or heart as well. And as I said, these are hollows. These are bladders, gallbladder, regular bladder. Intestine is a tube. Small and large intestines are tube. The stomach is, again, like a bladder or an area. I don't know much about the triple warmers, and I'll be honest about that, so you have to look that up yourself. Anyway, it says receiving, transporting, and digesting food. And here we have pathologies, which is excess syndrome. So you have an excess of the stomach, you have an excess of the bladder, excess in the intestines, excess gallbladder, etc. Well, similarly, you have a deficiency. You have a kidney deficiency, meaning you have too little kidney essence, too little kidney, ness. Or your heart, you've got a weak heart. You don't have enough juice in it, enough power in it. And the therapy is purgation, which is to purge, which is to release. The bladder, pretty obvious, you piss. Large intestines, if it's blocked up, it's like an enema. Small intestines, it would be laxatives to get things moving. Anything that moves stuff, like an American mandrake. Stomach, I would imagine, is like a stomach herb, like a ginger, to get things moving. You can also, again, focus on these. You can use your focus to heal and work on them. And the gallbladder, you basically, what do? You drink a bunch of apple juice, and then you drink a bunch of oil and lemon juice combined, and then the next day you take like a laxative or magnesium and you shit out all the gallstones. It's not really, you can look that up yourself if you're interested. There's a specific process in how to flush the gallbladder, which relates to oil. Anyway, you don't always want to be purging these things, by the way. Sometimes they need to store, they need to have stuff. You can think, and we'll go over that in a minute. Anyway, I'll put the link to this in the description if you want to check it. So this is a bit of anatomy here. We can see this is the kind of chest top, higher up region. This is more the lower region and the upper region, and you can think. And usually with the lower organs here, small intestines, large intestines, spleen, gallbladder, bladder, are in the lower areas, while the heart, lungs, stomach, gallbladder, kidneys is more in the upper areas. I think of the up ones as positive and the lower ones as negative, okay? I also have their primary colors, which is kind of like a silver or a white for the metal element, which is lungs and intestines, and then the opposite, which is like a black or a dark blue, is for the water. You see bladder, kidney, and connected to that would be womb or prostate, and gonads and genitals. That's kind of related to the water. For example, similarly, the head and the brain is related to the fire, though it's also related to the water. And of course red for the heart. Blue and red is like a contrasting color. And then we have the orange and, the kind of earth color and the green nature color. And it's very interesting because it's like, you know, what is the color of dirt and earths and sand is the earth color, you know, related to the stomach and spleen. Spleen there, stomach around here. What's the color of like natural leaves and trees, and besides brown is the green, and that is the wood, liver, gallbladder here, and of course we've got heart, lungs, kidneys, large intestine, small intestine, and bladder. Hopefully you understand this, hopefully get a basic idea of the elements. Now, of course, when one of these organs is deficient, the other ones will usually give their energy. Of course, there is like a cyclical thing that goes on, as in, you know, one goes to the other, goes to the other, goes to the other. And also depending on the time of day, for example, night time, you know, is more the yin or the negative, like the water. Daytime is more the fire. One interesting thing is the idea of Dantian. Now, they say it's, you know, GV6, Governor Vessel 6, which I think is Chi High, which is like what? Chi High, which is like pond. I forget how you draw pond. Whatever. Basically like battery of spiritual energy, which is, I think, the small intestines. It could also be related to the bladder. So this is where things get kind of interesting, right? We have the small intestines, which it actually goes kind of lower. If this was, okay, the genitals here, this is like the pubic region, this is like the lower belly region, and it's more like all around here, and the bladder's like around there. That should explain things. And it's kind of this one here, this right in here, you can think. But in between, you see, we have this space in between the bladder and the intestine, the small intestines. And if you feel into your navel and you try to feel like a warm mass of something, it's like in the navel, and you've got the small intestines kind of like in the slightly upper navel area and the lower navel area, and we're more focusing on the lower navel area, and it should feel kind of warm inside of there. And what happens is, if you focus on this area, you're building up the fire energy. And spiritual cultivation is very obsessed with cultivating the fire energy, which is a heart energy here. So you've got this, if we just, maybe we could just do this. They're very obsessed with building up this fire energy in the belly, and also, you know, relating to the heart, to train the. And if we also had the head, you know, as I said, the head's kind of got a fire. Brain, more the top of the brain is like fiery, so to speak. So they're very obsessed with the fire in spiritual cultivation, because the fire is the energy, it's the senses, it's like the power, like the and you think the idea when they talk about like Mopai training and all that stuff, cultivating the lower dantian, they're trying to gather what they call the yang chi, or the positive energy, which again is a hot heat. Is heat, is like masculine force, is strength, is power, which I believe, as I said, is probably in the small intestines. That's probably where they are storing and using it and doing all this kind of stuff. It's in small intestines. But we also have this interesting thing with the bladder here, which is that if you feel below your small intestines, so now we go below the small intestines to around the pubic, maybe a little bit above the pubic region, and then you go internal, you'll feel like a delicate area, which is the bladder. And the bladder is underneath the small intestine, so it's being warmed by the small intestines. If you're cold, relax the belly onto the bladder and it'll warm that, and that will like warm your body a lot more. Helps to warm the fluids, and usually the water systems are the most susceptible to cold in the body. They also say, and I'm gonna put this out there right now. I don't do Mopai training. I'm not recommending it, but I'm trying to teach you like this is the physics of the medicine, the physics, the whatever of what's going on. The same way I'm going to talk about abstinence in like another minute or two, and I don't recommend that either. But why is it that like every spiritual tradition has talked about that and had like abstinence as a thing? We'll talk about that and I'll explain why. So anyway, they say basically in Mopai, you don't want to nut because you adjust the position of the lower dantian. If you release the pressure from down here, you would bladder would kind of sag down, it would deflate a bit, and I guess the intestines would move around as well, and maybe things get a bit weird. I don't know, something like that. But what the idea was that religious people, like really full-on like priestly people, would practice abstinence is because, so here we have the kidneys, we have the bladder, we have the prostate or the womb, and the gonads. Okay. Now what happens when you release sexual fluid, you come, is that you release, it's like, imagine a cup. You lower the water level down to like here. So instead you had this full cup, or you can think like a balloon. You had this balloon, or a series of balloons filled, and now the balloon's all deflated and such. And what happens is that the body is drawing from here, this red area, the spiritual energy and the digestive nutrients and such. It's drawing and taking from the battery of energy to regenerate your gonads, so either prostate or womb, your bladder, and then your kidneys. So it slowly wants to go up, go up, go up, because you took down, so to speak. And that's just like a natural thing that happens, is that it's the same way if you go running or you do exercise, you deplete yourself, your muscles full of energy, and then you have to eat and breathe and relax and get sugar and all that to regenerate the muscles. So you want to get back up, and the body has to take from the stomach kind of region, the battery, to regenerate the kidneys. I think it's first the kidneys, and then it goes to like the bladder, and then it goes to the sexual center, and then the gonads. And if you're doing that, what happens is that you cannot tonify the heart. Which you see all these pictures of like Jesus and the heart and all this stuff like that, and like he's pointing at the heart, and it's like up to heaven or up to the head. The heart is this sacred organ in spirituality, because cultivation of the heart is cultivation of pureness. It's like if you focus on the heart right now, focus on like the upper chest, like above the nipple line, and then inward, and kind of in the center. People think it's like it's to the left, but I mean, sure, maybe it is, but you'll feel it more in the center. And you feel like the head, as I said, the upper head just clarifies, and you're just clear, and you're not full of bad emotions. Of course, too much heart energy leads to rage and leads to excessive stimulation. And when people kind of get loopy and they're like spiritual and they're kind of crazy, that's too much heart energy. Okay, so to summarize, you're essentially, when you do a lot of exercise, or you use the body a lot, or you have sexual activity, you're depleting yourself, depleting like the stamina of the body. And if you deplete the stamina, it's hard because you're trying to convert water, which is a downward triangle, into fire. At least this is a spiritual practitioner. I'll be real honest, I'm trying to convert fire into water most of the time, just so I don't feel like crap from working too much, you know? Like, let's be real. If you live a physically demanding life, you know, you're doing stuff, you're building stuff, you need a lot of water. But this is what the spiritual people did, is that they would take the lower water, you think from this in the head, this specifically is like the mouth and the upper brain. And they would want to take that fluid and go upwards and energize the brain. That's what this symbol means. It's like both of the, you know, up and down. So they would, but also you can cultivate the fire. This is like the storage of the fire, so it relates to this, you know, these areas, they relate the same way that the bladder and the kidneys relate. And similarly for lungs and, you know, large intestines and all that kind of stuff. So they wanted, you know, the water is the foundation of the body. You can think the water systems, the water elements and all that, and the organs and all that stuff. It's a foundation. And these spiritual cultivators were not interested in, firstly, they weren't interested in sex, in having children, in building things, in material life, things which are heavily important. You know, in reality, like, we can't just forsake that. Money, you know, the strength of the water organs is related to how much money you can generate, how much work you can do, how much you can build. So it may be that you need to forsake the heart and actually transmute that energy down into the water energy here. Maybe you need to do that. Who knows? But just know that you can do that, you can, and you can transmute into any other energy, but these are the most obvious positive negatives. You know, this is like the obvious duality, which is, you know, interesting. So one last thing is like leveling up. Imagine you got like level 0 out of 100, and each organ has a level, or each element. So you're like fire level, I don't know, fire FL equals 23 out of 100. By focusing on the fire organs, you level up. You get like, instead of level 23, you level 24, and then you become level 25, and then you do that a bunch, and you become level 32, etc., etc. So it's like levels. You know, you got levels to the organs and levels to the elements, and eventually what you'll have is that you'll just have a stronger heart, a stronger, you know, intestines, your digestive system. You got a lot of gut. If you have very strong small intestines, actually what will happen is your guts will get big and kind of heavy, and you'll always have like a heat to you, like a radiance. It will kind of make you look fat. It'll make you look fat, but it's not, you don't actually have fat on you, unless you do. But I mean, like, you'll have like a stomach without a lot of fat, but it'll be like big. And I'm not talking about like just being bloated, like intestinally bloated, but if you have like the idea of having a strong lower dantian, you've got this like thing, like this thick, just ball of fire in the abdomen, which is like the intestines. And you can kind of move it around. There's always like yoga for that, and you can push it out, and you can, yeah. So do know, like, you will physically change, because the muscles, which I'll probably have to go over in another video, relate to different elements, and different muscles will grow, like the back muscles and the lateral muscles and all that, like, you know, around his sides relate more to water, for example. So depending on how strong the water system is in your lats, because the muscles that cover the what would you say, the kidneys, also the lower belly, the muscles that cover the bladder. So physically you'll change, and that's how you kind of tell people how they, you know, what elements they're strong or weak in, and yeah, you get the point. So yeah, if you want to figure this stuff out, you're gonna have to sit down or lay down and focus on the organs. practice tonifying them by just focusing on them, and focus on the positive, or like the solid organs, and see what happens, and then focus on the hollow organs and see what happens. As I said, the hollow organs is kind of building up matter, and the solid ones is they generate the matter, but they have like, they're more functional, I guess. I don't know, you'll figure it out. Of course, feel free to check the links in the description, and have a nice day.